Good evening, folks. What's up? Look, here's the thing. Michael and I were going to talk about Cross. We're going to talk about the Penguin. We're going to talk about Blue Eye Samurai. I'm wearing a hat in honor of Cross because I've never seen a brother have more hats than me. That's crazy. I'm so envious of that. Don't think I was going to bring that up. Michael, you ready to do this, brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, folks, let's jump in and let's talk about some hats and let's have some fun. All right. Let's go. What's up, folks, and welcome to TBA News presented by the Hungry Bleak Show. I am Antonio Pomares, aka the Hungry Bleak, the hungriest man in the room. You can take that however you want. And this man sitting next to me, he is a cinema CEO. He is the cinema god. This is Michael Williams, y'all.
What's up, y'all?
And that's exactly what she was talking about, brother. You don't sell it at all. You just deadpan it the whole way through. That's it. Deadpan it the whole way through. What's going on, brother?
Nothing. What's up? What's going on?
And look, bro. Like I said, you got the memo for all blue. You know what I mean? We're rocking the blue. Black men, salt and pepper, both got hats on. I had to wear this hat because this is one of my favorite hats. I had to wear this in honor of Cross. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of stuff come out since we've last talked.
Yes.
Not just the shows we talk about now, but we've had Arcane season 2. We've had Lioness season 2. I think Yellowstone came back as well.
Yep.
Recently. I like my head spins. We've had
Doom Prophecy started this past weekend.
Yes. We also got the Day of the Jackal on Peacock.
Yes.
We've got we've got Citadel Honey Bun.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Honey Pot?
Honey Bunny.
Honey Bunny. All right, so I was wrong about
Honey Bun.
I don't. For some reason I kept thinking of Honey Buns and Honey Bun, and I was like, that
This is the Hungry Bleak Show, folks.
That can't be the title. That can't be the title. That's crazy. That's crazy. Or as my New York brother would go, hey, yo, that's crazy. That's wild. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. So we've had so much come out in that time. But we're gonna go over a couple of shows. We might even slither on into a couple of things. But first up, let's talk about Cross.
Yes.
The show that we were waiting to come out because it had gotten. We heard about this in 1974. And the show had been the show was first mentioned 1974, and then it was said that it was going to get a second season. We were like, damn, really? And it was when? It's like, well, you'll see. And now we have it. I just finally finished up the last episode today, and
you dragging, brother. You dragging. What's that about?
Brother, let's not talk about Blue Eye Samurai, brother.
The show than I was,
brother. Let's not talk about Blue Samurai, brother. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that, brother. I mean, well, I've been binging it, and I was like, damn, I kind of don't want this to end. So I was really spacing it out because I was really enjoying this show and this different take on Cross from what I've seen in the movies, whether it was Morgan Freeman or whether it was Tyler Perry.
Okay.
How'd you feel about the show?
I thought it was really good. I almost feel like it was way more than I had anticipated after we saw that thing on Comic-Con.
Yeah. I
feel active, well active, well paced, well written. I can't think of anything that really disappointed me at all, or nothing I could really nitpick over with the show at all, other than I wish there was a season 2 right now, but I'll be patient for that.
The fact that they had already renewed it, I was like, okay. So at least I know I'm not like, oh man, I'm wondering if the show's going to come back. At least we know, right off the bat that it's coming back. When we were at New York Comic-Con and we saw the panel for Cross, it was one of the best and most feel-good panels, honestly, that I saw that weekend. It just felt right, and you felt the biggest thing that I've noticed, and I've been paying attention to this with different shows, whether it's live action or like a series, a movie, or even animated stuff, is how the cast gets together, how they get along. on stage at those panels. You can kind of tell when it's like, just kind of like playing, like, oh yeah, they're just doing it for the show. And you can tell when it's like legitimately like it's there, and it felt there because of this. I want to give a shout to I wasn't familiar with her, so this is my first introduction to her, but Samantha Walks, who played Elle, Cross's like a longtime friend and love interest. I mean, they said that Alana Tal, I want to say, was the one who said that, like, she's like the heart and soul of the show, and she truly was. Like, you felt it in those scenes. She chewed up scenery, and the chemistry between her and Aldous Hodge was electrifying. It felt so good, and also the chemistry between Aldous and what's the brother's name? Isaiah Mustafa. Yeah, man. I mean, yes, they even had a joke during the show about like how he smelled like Irish. How he smelled like
yes.
Spice. I heard it and I was like, what? I don't know who Isaiah Mustafa is. He's been a long time actor. At one time, I think he was actually trying to get the role of Luke Cage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at one point I want to say that he was like really vying for that role. But you may know him most notably for the Irish Brings man of
Old Spice.
Look at your Old Spice, excuse me, Old Spice, and saying look at your man, now look at me, now look at your man, look at me, now look at your man, now look at me, now I'm on a horse. I mean, yeah, so we know him more for that, and he did bring some of that comedic timing because he had some great like one-line scenes, and he just cut, and I was like, he's maximizing his minutes so much. The writing was on point. The directing was fantastic. I love the directors that they had. You could feel a different energy to every episode. Aldous Hodge he's had a lot of great performances. This is one of these actors who is there, and I feel like if this isn't a A-list making for him, I don't know what will be. Because this showcases him, but then he showcases everyone who's in the cast that's in a scene with him. The way he plays up, he gives so much to them. And I love that fact of he's not just taking it and being in the light shining on him. He shines that light right back on whoever's in the scene with him. Whether it's a main member of the cast or if it's like a code, whatever it is, he was giving it. And the banter, the series was just so good. And it was what was it, 8, 9 episodes?
8.
I could have done with 2 more. And I normally like short seasons. I could have done with 2 more. I'll be honest with you. How did you feel about if you haven't seen this, we're going to be giving spoilers for stuff. And I know Cross came out last Thursday?
Yes.
Last Thursday. So it's been a week. If you don't want to hear spoilers, you might want to trot off. But how did you feel about the ending?
Well, which ending are we talking about? We're talking about
the true ending.
Mid-credit scene, or
that one blew me. I was like, okay, because and I'm gonna be real. My man that played Bobby. Let me see what the brother's name was. Johnny Ray Gill, who you may remember from Underground. Which I didn't realize. I was like, I've seen this brother before, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, that was him. Yeah, he needs to be brought back. He was killing when he was in the hotel room, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? Hold on, wait. If I see any baby oil, I'm out of here. This is not what's going on here? He was killing these scenes, man. And I want to know more about that character. I want to know more about him.
Yeah,
I love to part, but let's talk about the ending with the cabin and finding out that it was her that was behind the whole thing with his wife and everything.
Yeah, how do I want to say this? There was a part of me coming into that episode that felt like it could have been her. But I guess there was also the same part of me that was like, no, like it can't be her. Like, no, like, no. Right? And I think that's what makes that episode all the more shocking. Right? Because the enemy at least the enemy for Cross the whole time, besides the obvious outside part with the serial killer, right? The enemy the whole time has literally been hiding in plain sight. Cross, right? And it's like, it's just all the more shocking when you figure out that she, for the most part, has been kind of pulling the levers the whole time.
Yes. And we want to give a shout to Karen Robinson, who played Miss Nancy.
Yeah. It was just mind-boggling and heartbreaking all at the same time.
But you know what's funny? Again, this is a well-written show.
Yes.
At a certain point, Cross actually tells you, what did we learn when we were, what did Coach teach us when we were boxing? It's the hit you don't see is the one that hurts the most.
Yes.
And when it happened, I was like, oh, but something about her didn't seem right, because she became very friendly so quickly with them. And I was like, why are you all in my house? Like, ain't you just supposed to be doing piano lessons? Like, why are you all up in my house, like bringing liquor and everything? Why are you trying to ask to watch my kids? Like, what are you doing here? But I love the actress. She's very endearing, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but her eyes, because her eyes bulge out so much, I think it almost gives you like this, almost like an endearing sense, because, you know, big eyes, you think of like, you know, puppies or kittens. It's a very kind of endearing feeling. So I think, and she also acts her ass off. And she was, and her and Mama Nana, who also did such a phenomenal job. I did, this whole cast was just killing it. So I want to give a shout out to Juanita Jennings, who played Regina Nana Mama Cross. She did as well, and but she just became so familiar so quick, and I was like, why are you up in my house? Like, I don't know you like that. Like, what? Like, why you here?
Well, that I could kind of see where you felt that way.
Yeah,
I don't know that I necessarily felt threatened by that, right? Because living in a Black family, you kind of know people who are like that with your parents and your relatives and all that kind of thing. So you don't really ask those questions, right? Like, you're like, well, this is a friend of my mom's. Even if I don't know her, my mom knows her. So I'm not thinking any the wiser about it, right? I think that's the power of that writing and the power of that scene, right? Is because in some ways I feel like the writer kind of channeled that experience, right? Like, we don't really question, you know, who our relatives are hanging around unless the hairs on the back of our necks stand up from the instant we see them, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's like we don't get that feeling, right? And we're like, well, she's my mom. She's grown, so she knows what she's doing, and she can handle this if something goes sideways. Like, I trust her completely, right? Because she's my mother. But it's kind of like, I think that's what's even more shocking about her, right? Like I said, because you don't ever really see it coming until it comes. And then you're like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
It was just, because we're getting it twofold, because Cross and Samson are going after the serial killer and figuring it out. It all stems from that killing of this activist who was at one point a gang leader and, you know, a drug addict, and who turns his life around and is killed. And then we find out it's about the serial killer, everything. And that was actually done even so well. That was Ryan Echols, who played Ed Ramsey. He did a phenomenal job in that as well. I also want to give a shout to the kids. Caleb Elijah, who plays Damon Cross, and Melody Hurd, who plays Janelle Cross. The kids did a really, really great job too. Really good job. You felt that he did such a great job as that character, and for them to show right off the bat, you just showing him as a serial killer. I'm like, oh, so it's that kind of cat and mouse kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I loved about the series is that it started out with the interrogation,
yes,
and then it ended with that with another interrogation.
Yes.
And him kind of just making him go, well, I'm not giving you any of the credit for any of this. Mm-hmm. And so I love that symmetry between the two, because he's going up against these two guys. At the panel, they talked about how that interrogation was wild after the part that they cut.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it only gets wild. And they laughed up there. And I'm like, so what they laughing at? And they went to the interrogation and say, you like, can you do that? Can you go in there and just be like, mine is bigger than yours? And like, standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was made to play Cross. He was made to play Cross. This is such a great interpretation. Let's talk about also as Black men and having real conversations that we've had. There's no posturing in our conversation. Like when we're off camera and we're sitting down and we're having something to eat or we have maybe a drink, and we're talking. It's like a realistic conversation. We're talking about real life things, relationships, family, good, bad, everything. Seeing that type of relationship, or seeing Cross go through so many emotions during the course of the show, and dealing with his trauma, dealing with his family's trauma, dealing with his guilt, his anger, his rage, dealing with, and Samson, they truly said that Samson was the one who's trying to anchor him down.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about his depiction as far as all of those things go, and then him being also accountable, the way he talked to his son?
Yeah, it's not that I didn't believe what they were saying during the panel when they were mentioning that part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes what happens is sometimes you get production teams that say this is what we think it is in settings like that, right? And then when you get to the show, sometimes it has that potential to be that, but then it never really reaches that potential when you're watching it in real time.
Yeah.
I think the difference this time is that, and this is going to sound crazy to me, I feel like they undersold it at the panel.
Yeah.
Because seeing it in real time, I've never really seen a show that depicts a relationship between two Black men that are friends the way that Cross and Samson are. Like, it's not this completely kumbaya type relationship where they're just kind of, eternal cheerleaders for each other. And let me clear that up. They are eternal cheerleaders for each other, but there are gray areas there that need to be explored and unpacked and, dealt with, right? Like, he's not just going to co-sign everything his boy does.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to check certain things that his boy says or does, or times that he should pull, Samson has no problem pulling Cross's collar when he needs to, right? And I know that there were times in the series where Cross didn't like that, and truth be told, you're not supposed to like it, right? Because you're, to a certain extent, after all the things that happened to Cross has created almost his own bubble, right? And he's not really concerned with what other people think, because he's so deep down that rabbit hole of losing his wife and having to bring up his kids now somewhat on his own, even though Mama Cross is helping out.
Right.
Like, I just loved it. I loved it. Sometimes your best friendships do involve a little bit of strife where you two don't see eye to eye and there is sort of a strain. But if the relationship is good, even if it's strained, it will find its way back to even footing without you even really trying. You know what I mean? Like you've got to figure out your own, for lack of a better term, you got to figure out your own shit sometimes, right? Even when your friend is trying to tell you, look, you're screwing up here, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and if your boy is your boy, like you say your boy is, once you figure out your nonsense, and there's that powerful scene where he goes back to Samson's house and he basically kind of lays out like, like I was mad at you, truth be told, but everything you were saying was right, you know, and they they undersold it in the panel. Like this is the writing amongst relationships with men of almost the same stature and growing up together in this show is really well done. And that's all I can say.
Yeah, it's not something that we get to see those little nuances. And even when Samson was like, you had me at MFer.
Yes.
And sometimes and I know black women have that thing where they can have a whole conversation and not even say a word, where they just look at each other like, you know, they have that. I like the fact that they showed that, you know, like black men can have them similar kind, because we've been together and Michael and I have looked at each other like, and we've both been saying the same thing. And when the situation passes, we'll talk about like, did you see? Yeah, what was that? Why? And we'll go through it. You know, like we had one of those moments at New York Comic Con when what's name was talking about when Gunn was talking about how Pierre was almost Adam Warlock. We both just sat there. We both like. And right there, we had a whole conversation span of like 5 seconds, and then we both went back to it. He was like, "All right, cool, bet."
Yeah,
went into it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I love the fact that they had that, and because they knew that they were still good, they were still brothers for lack of any other term, but they had to get through that, and he knew, and they both knew. Look, man, you messed up. Yeah, I messed up, but it was just the fact of coming to the head, and Cross just being. Sometimes Cross gets in his own way because of his brilliance and the trauma and some arrogance too, that he gets his own way a bit. So the fact that you could have that and still be like, you know what, and have that accountability of, you know what, that's my fault, my bad, I'm sorry. And he even says, this isn't the way I wanted to come here. I should have came here before this, but my family's in danger. And Samson let him say everything because I think he knew that Cross needed to get out. He was like, man, you had me at MFA. What we got? Where we going?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is obviously a watch for us. I think I might even rewatch it just because it was so impactful and hard hitting, and it was just so good as a kind of police procedural, as a drama, as a thriller, and also as like this show that really did delve into Black culture, Black love, and how we see ourselves, and seeing how we could be on screen and different manners of Black love, whether it's familial, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic, whether it's platonic, seeing those different forms was definitely needed. And I think this show hits on a lot of different levels. I can't wait to see a second season. I'm already ready, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, for the most part, the reviews that I've seen have been mainly positive. Like, I have not seen any really negative reviews. And I'm sorry I didn't get this person's name. I saw this person on Instagram twice this week. Same woman. I wish I had gotten her name. I would shout her out on the show. But she's from the DMV area.
Okay.
And she's been like really like sharing how much she loves the show, not just because of it being Alex Cross, and not just because of its depiction of blackness and things like that, but also because for her, she said it's really one of the first shows she's ever seen that also shows DMV love the way that it does. Yeah. Like the chili restaurant that appears in a number of episodes.
Yeah. That was their spot. He even said, man, that we got to get this spot.
Yes. Certain things that I think are certain phrases and things and actions that are almost kind of exclusive to the DMV area, she brought up in one of her posts.
Nuance, that's what it is. Nuance.
It's just really well done. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched this with Danny, and honestly, besides the fact that she loved it too, the show in general, I kept saying, now I gotta go to this chili spot. Now I'm acting like you. Now I gotta go to this chili spot.
Bro. This is it. This is what we do. This is it, man. You know what I'm saying? And the food was looking good. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad at that. Yes. You know what I mean? So but it's little nuances, even like using certain slang.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I love when things aren't set just in New York. Where everything is. I love when things are set in different areas, and they don't get a lot of shows that are based in DMV. So to have that love there and that nuance, and to actually show spots there, like not just showing the Washington but showing the street and areas, everything like that. That means something. That means something to the people there. That means something to the show and the heart of it, and where it's at. And it becomes again. And I love when this happens. I love when soundtrack or score and the setting become a character in something.
Yes.
And that's what it does. And you definitely feel it, because every time they went to Ben's, I wanted to pull up a chair, I wanted to sit at the counter, and I wanted to get down with something.
Exactly.
For real. So that shows love, and that shows it matters.
Yes.
Which is awesome. So Cross is definitely a rewatch. I think in the next couple of months or so, because I really want to get back into it, because I just really had a fun time with it. The other show we had a fun time with was Penguin.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Again, this was another panel. We got to go to a New York Comic-Con. Max, this was, I think this was a different level for Colin Farrell. Again, another cast that it felt right.
Yes.
You know, these casts are starting to really click even more than I think they ever have, because they realize how important it is. Casting directors need to directs like people that do the casting and everything like that. They need to be paid even more, because the cast you're putting together are phenomenal, and this is just another one of them. Damn, this show. People forget sometimes that you're watching a villain as the main character. We start cheering for them.
Yeah. Yes. Penguin is probably by far the best DC series that's been created so far. And I mean, Colin Farrell goes without saying, right? Because we knew that this was a very different interpretation of the Penguin, even from the Batman, right?
Yeah. And we only got 7 minutes, I think you said, of him in that movie, maybe?
Yeah. So even to get a more fleshed out sort of story about him is great. And Colin Farrell delivers, because Colin Farrell's just been a good actor for a very, very, very long time. And and I've seen him in other things that aren't even sort of like nerd related, and I can tell you he's a really good actor. So there's that. But for me, the breakout sort of star in this show was Christine Milioti, who I've seen in other things, and she's been decent in those other things that I've seen her in. But in this, like, it's almost like she literally goes for broke in this show. And it's like, I didn't know she had this kind of performance in her, to be honest. Right? Because they've always kind of put her as the funny girl in most things that I've seen her.
Mm-hmm.
This just the range that she displays in this show is, it's just like wow. Like this is what happens when you go outside of the box, right? Because you could have put any name actress in that role and been lazy and gotten probably a decent performance out of it. But when when you go outside of the box and you cast somebody who people know, but they don't really know because they haven't really seen what she's about.
Yes. Which is what you got to do.
Like magic, brother. Like magic.
This is what you got to do. You have to. It's such a painstaking, and I mean, it was just everything that she went through in Arkham. Or no, was it Arkham that she went to?
Yeah, she went to
Arkham. It was so hard hitting, and just and as she begins to progress. And I love how her attire begins to show it as well. It's almost like that shell, that layer of her, and you start seeing the scars. And at first, you're like, wait, those are the scars. And you realize that she went mad in there. And finding out about her father, and that, again, we're going to spoil stuff, folks. Finding out that her father was actually the hangman. It wasn't her. And, you know, that he killed her mother.
Yeah.
And you start, again, this is what I love when I say that unreliable narrator, stuff like that. I love when shows have you rooting for people who you should not be rooting for. They're horrible people. They're absolutely horrible, despicable people. And then at a certain point, you realize, wait, hold on. I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for Oz. And you see this turf war going on. And this was almost like somebody described this, and I think because Gotham is actually supposed to be in Jersey. That's canon now. Gotham in Jersey and The Sopranos. So people are like, oh, this is kind of like The Sopranos. And I'm like, and I can see where they were going with that comparison. I can kind of, this is almost like, you know, like how Anthony Soprano came to power. All right, fine. But this is like a mix of Sopranos and Game of Thrones.
Yes.
When you're looking at the mashup, and I don't usually like to like compare stuff like that because I think that's like a weak way of reviewing or analyzing something. But it makes it a little bit easier for people who may not know about that, who may not know the who haven't maybe watched the show. But you're rooting for Oz, and because I think we also think that we're still thinking of Burgess Meredith, Danny DeVito. The kind of comical Oz, and we don't get that Oz. In the first episode, we see Oz take off his shoe, and you see how mangled his foot is. And we still aren't told. I think this was something that he was born with. I want to say,
yes.
Like in other interpretations, we've had him, his leg's been broken, and it didn't heal properly. We don't actually know, and I don't need to know. Don't care. We don't need. Just like I don't need to see Bruce's parents get killed again. I don't need to see that. I know how he comes about. We all know. It's fine. I also think this was a very wonderful, and I don't want to talk about this in detail, truthfully. I also think how this was a wonderful, huge gap between Penguin and the Joker Part 2. I love how nobody came at this with, oh, the Joker. They didn't. They were seen as standalone things. Nobody came. I didn't see any cross-pollination or people going, this was this, what have you. There was nothing. I saw more people talking about Penguin and enjoying it than I did about people not liking Joker, which I saw. That I saw their comments saying that, but it wasn't a lot. Penguin was phenomenal. Colin Farrell is going to be getting something from this. I don't know what awards he's going to be getting. He's going to be getting something from this. Kristen is going to be getting something from this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. And I think the other part of that, though, which I'm sure Warner Brothers feels like is a godsend, right? The Penguin is so good. It took all of the attention off of Joker 2.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, once you knew Joker 2 was terrible and you had that week or 2 weeks or so where people were absolutely crapping on it, then the Penguin came out and that chatter died down quickly. Right? And I know they were more than pleased that that's what happened. Right? Because they'll take their loss on Joker 2, rightfully so, because there was no need to make another one, but I digress. We will not get into that discussion. But yeah. And I also want to shout out two other things from Penguin. Deidre O'Connell as his mom. Listen.
Phenomenal. Best supporting actress somewhere.
Yes. I don't know how, because when I look at her role, right, her role is clearly smaller than Christine Miliani's, clearly smaller than Colin Farrell's, but her impact is so huge in this show. It's like, this is what acting is, folks. Like, sometimes it's like you make the most of what they give you, and Deidre O'Connell and the way she plays this character in this show looms large throughout the entire run of the first season. Like, it's like, it's incredible, and it's just damn fine acting, if I say so myself. Like, she makes the most of everything that she's given. Even that ultimate scene when Sophia pits her against Oz, and that scene very much felt very reminiscent. And here's my only comparison where I'm going to make a comparison to something that happened in Marvel. That scene to me is very reminiscent of Tony dressing down Cap in Endgame.
Because it's that confrontation between two people you didn't think you were going to see a confrontation between.
Yes. Where the truth comes out, how I felt the whole time that we've been on the same side, and I felt like you disappointed me. She literally dresses down Oz, and rightfully so. Right? And it's like, and you feel every word that she says to him in that scene. Every word. It's cutting. Every word.
And it's both of them hiding this secret from the same day.
Yes.
The fact that he killed his brothers, and that she was going to have him killed.
Yes.
As a child. Like, they're both sitting there across from each other. They both have these big secrets. And she's like, so y'all going to come out? So y'all going to see at this moment. And she just lays out. And it was just it was painstaking.
Yes.
And I mean, the writing for this obviously was going to be on point because, I mean, the show, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but it's like Jim Ross says, maximize your minutes. Maximize your minutes. Whatever you're given, maximize it. Make a statement with the time that you're given. And Deidre does that in such a wonderfully way, even playing, in a sense, playing three characters. She plays a younger version of herself in her mindset. She also plays having a character who has a dementia, and then playing the mother who is lucid. So playing those three different roles in three different parts of her life, and then seeing what happens over the course, and phenomenal work. I mean, we have to give a shout also to Rezi Falez, who plays Victor. Victor was, now I don't want to hear anybody talk about, we didn't see it. Shut up. No, let the character, the death of Victor played a purpose. It played a role, and it showed that it was Oz's really only soft spot, aside from his mother, who he wasn't going to kill. But that was his only soft spot. He said, I have to kill you. There's no other. I have to kill you. You're too good a man for this business. So I have to kill you. Because even with Eve, who's played phenomenally by Carmen Anjego.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he can't completely trust her because he pays her.
Yes.
He's basically paying her, so he knows what terms they're on. He doesn't have to worry about that. And he knows that she told on him.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows what terms, he knows that there's that, but he pays her. But with Victor, Victor was there because he believed in Oz. He wanted Oz. He knew, and he was like, man, wow,
all right.
I love you, but I got to kill this.
And Danny was not happy about it. She was not happy about Victor being killed, but
that's the point.
I said he had to kill Victor because even if we take the minority opinion and the fact that he could have just let Victor leave Gotham and that would have been the end of it. It wouldn't have been the end of it. Because as long and here was my thinking on it. He knows, meaning Oz, that Batman is in Gotham. Right? And to me, even if you let Victor leave, Victor is not out of the grasp or the reach out ability of Batman to get him and figure out what he knows about this guy. Right? So as long as there's this situation where Oz is trying to play this game of chess with the Batman in Gotham and trying to stay one step ahead of him, being under some sort of surveillance or whatever word you want to use there, he has to tie up that loose end. Unfortunately, he has to, because Vic then becomes a liability to him.
I don't think that's why he killed him. I don't think that's why he killed him. I think he killed him because he knew he was too good. Because he was someone who, I don't think he would have, even if Batman had came down, I don't think he would have turned on Oz. Because he truly believed in Oz. He went through all that. He gave up all that to be with Oz. He was a good man. Victor was a good man. And I think Oz was like, you're too good for this business. You're too good for this. And the only way that he could really deal with him was kill him. I don't think it was so much of a loose end. It was just like, because he know that Victor gave up his girl, he gave up leaving, he gave up everything to be with Oz, and Oz sees what type of person he is. He sees it truly now. After everything he's done throughout the course of the series, Oz sees it now, and he's at peace with it. He's at peace. Like, he knows he's not going to be, because even seeing the man that he thought was so great, Rex Calabrese, he realizes Rex was going to kill him. So Oz is at this point where he's like, well, there truly are no good guys in this business. We're all horrible people. My girlfriend, I pay her. She's not here because she necessarily wants to be here. I'm paying her. She's still a sex worker. And I believe even though she was his quote unquote girlfriend, she was still working. You know what I mean? So that's the life that Oz has. That's the life he knows. That's the life he's built. That's what he's wanted to be for so long. This man killed his brothers. He was about to let his mother get her finger cut off. There's no way that Victor, as a good man, he didn't want to see Victor be corrupted. That was the most selfless act he did in the entire series. He killed him, and it served a purpose. He had to. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought up that whole thing just now about him killing his brothers, because I want to ask you this question, because this was a conversation that Danny and I got into when that episode was over. The way I interpreted that episode is exactly what you just said. I felt like he killed his brothers on purpose. I think he knew what he was doing in that situation. And that, to me, is how it hit me. That's what he did. He did that on purpose because he wanted to be the focus of his mother's love and attention and all of that. Do you feel that way, or do you feel it was some other reason why he decided to do what he did? Because to me, I feel like he knew exactly what he was doing when he closed that door.
I feel like, and then after this, we'll go to the next thing. I feel like he was a kid and he did it not knowing the full ramifications, because he even still looked out the window to see if they were going to come home. I don't think he realized that they were going to die. I think he did it because he was like, oh, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson, not realizing it fills up. They're going to die. It's raining hard as hell today. They're going to die. Because again, he looked out the way he looked to see if they were coming. But I think that was also him looking to see, oh, if they come home, they're going to tell on me and I'm going to be in trouble. And I think that was also him trying to think of a lie in his head, whatever. I think he was, everything Oz did at a certain point, like in the more beginning of the series, you see him do it, but he never takes accountability for it. He's still almost like this stunted kid doing stuff and not thinking full ahead of it. Like when he killed the brother. In the beginning, and he goes, oh, geez, you gotta be kidding me. He kills him. Not thinking about it at all. He has a lot of knee-jerk reactions. He's very impulsive with his anger. Even when he's trying to carry the body down, and he's like, he just throws it. That scene, I was dying at the scene because I was like, yeah, makes sense. Because this is the first time that we're seeing a strong Oz. A strong, like, every time we see, like, Penguin, or which he hated the name Penguin, because his name would call him that, and he would like to antagonize him. But anytime we've seen the Penguin, it's been more comedic, and he's never been really strong. This time we're seeing a strong Oz. We're seeing him get his hands dirty. He's shooting. He's doing this stuff. Everything he did, he never really did things with accountability. So when he looked, it was him looking to see if they were going to come in, but him also going, oh no, why aren't they here yet? Or he was also thinking, oh, in the way he's feeling, if he did it on purpose, he's looking like saying, okay, yeah, they're not coming. They are dead. You can interpret that a couple of different ways, and that's why I like that.
Yes.
But in the end, he killed them, and he never admitted to it. Ever. His mother knew. Rex knew. So that was very interesting to me, that whole thing. It was very, the psychology of it, the more nuanced. It was in a sense. Someone even said that there was a bit of a horror aspect to it, which I thoroughly enjoy the idea of that as well. So that the series, again, that's a rewatch series. That's like a masterclass in directing, writing, acting, especially. Oh my God.
Yeah, and shout out to the showrunner of that show, who's a female. I don't have her name offhand either, but just further proof that there are female geeks who are affected by some of these, classic characters that are out here, and their interpretations just bring a fresh new take to anything. So
exactly, we're getting a lot of great showrunners that are women, non-men, who are killing it on these shows, and I'm loving this. Speaking of women and outstanding characters, you finally got to Blue Eye Samurai.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on this show? I saw and absolutely loved it. I need like season 2 like yesterday.
Yes, I loved it too, and I think that the thing for me that finally forced me to watch it was that I had seen that it won the Emmy for Best Animated Series at the last Emmys, and I knew that it was up against X-Men '97. So when I was like, okay, when I found out that this thing had won, and then I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I'm like, I knew I had wanted to see it beforehand, but I think that even pushed me even more to finally watch it, right? And everyone who watches us knows how much we loved X-Men '97. So I wanted to see, obviously, what other people obviously saw, that they were like, here, this should be the one that wins it, right? And what's interesting to me is that a lot of the themes that occur in this show, but also occur in X-Men '97, are almost similar, but it's just how they go about it and how they tackle them, right? So, yeah. The first thing upon watching Blue-Eyed Samurai to me, and this is not even a real fair comp, but you can go with me or not on this. To me, it felt like Kill Bill in a way, but what if the bride was not Uma Thurman, but the bride was Lucy Liu's Oranishi, and she had obviously the same sort of bloodlust and revenge against the group of Vipers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like to me from the very beginning, right? It was just like,
all right.
I don't think that I've ever seen. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen a show like this that's as beautifully animated as it is. That's number one. This show is beautifully animated. Like if this is what Netflix is going to do as far as animation goes, let's keep going in this direction. Like, seriously. And then two, just the themes that it's dealing with in the society that we're in right now and where we're going is amazing. It's just so well done, so well written. I don't know what to say. Like I'm with you. Like I'm ready for this next season, even though it's gonna be a while, because they're saying it might not even come back till 2026.
That's understandable. The animation is painstaking. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's beautifully done. The only thing I'll say is I've talked about the show before and I've absolutely loved it. I mean, it's phenomenal. From the fight scene to the story, to the choreographing, to the cast, again, everything was phenomenal. All I'm going to say about this is, brother, I know sometimes you have this thing about animation or anime. And I keep telling you, and the ones I think are going to be I'm like, go with this, go with it. Like you see Arcane. There's some incredible animation stuff out there, but don't just look at this type of animation. Look at other types, because there's some phenomenal stuff out there, stories. And I know you have this thing about animation and anime. Expand, because there's some stuff that is so incredible and hard hitting, not just action oriented, fight scenes, what have you, but things that are so emotional and painful, or things that are incredibly funny and outrageous, ridiculous. That it's there. And Blue-Eyed Samurai, and the more we get stuff like this, not just this animation style, but in general animated stuff, where we're telling these incredible stories and they're getting these awards. You know how I feel about awards, what have you. But if it opens up people's eyes to seeing, oh, hey, there's anime stuff that's really great, that's this, that what have you, I'm all for it. Because if it opens people's eyes to going outside of that comfort zone and checking out, oh, well, I like this, and Netflix recommended this, or Hulu recommended this, or whatever, and you watch it, oh, that's great, and it gets you more into it, and it's another thing that you can enjoy, I'm all for it, because why not?
Yeah.
And I mean, this Arcane is another one.
Yeah, I tried to watch Arcane when it first came on, and I probably got sidetracked with other things. So I'm going back to it now.
It's heartbreaking, incredibly dynamic. The art style is beautiful. You don't have to play the game to watch it. Obviously, I didn't play the game. Shout out to Imagine Dragons. Never thought I'd say that again.
Yes, I know.
Where that come from? Jeez.
I know.
I mean, but there's a fight on the bridge in the first season, and I've watched it about 10 times, because you know how I've talked about like an animated fight scenes of the choreography and watching the animation, phenomenal. And it's almost like watching two fight scenes at once. And the music the music is another character in the League of Legends. It's beautiful. In Arcane, it's phenomenal. I would highly recommend going to that, because the part 3 of the second season, because they divvied it up into 3 weeks, 3 episodes, because it's 9 episodes, is going to be this Saturday. So that'll be the end of the season. And that's the end of the series, I want to say, because it's only 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, because that show must have cost so much.
250 million, from what I understand.
Yeah. I would go back, start from episode 1.
Yeah,
it's a slow burn, but when it hits, off the track, beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a character that you'll look at and you'll go she's one of my favorite characters. When you see her, you'll know who she is. And I think I know who voices her, and you'll go, oh yeah, that makes even more sense. She's one of my favorite characters. I want to see her throw down. Just incredible. But yeah, that was it's because like I said, it'll be out. So it's 18 episodes total for 2 seasons.
Okay.
But check it out. But yeah, Blue Eye Samurai opened people's eyes again, and predominantly Asian cast as well for voice acting. If you go through, you'll see a lot of familiar faces. So the things that we've seen. You'll see a certain person who was a time traveler with a bunch of heroes, let's say. Which I love. I love seeing him and hearing his voice, because he just feels like this guy who I want him to work all the time. He just seems like a really good guy. We also someone who was once on the Starship, who has a very deep voice. And you'll also see a person in the voice cast who kicked the hell out of John Wick, which I enjoyed. So there you go. So folks, that's been our show. We've gone through a police officer with a PhD in psychology who profiles serial killers. We have talked about a low-level gangster who has risen to the ranks in Gotham, and we have talked about a blue-eyed samurai who is not who they seem. I think we pretty much touch every base, right? Like that's a pretty varied show, folks. I'm just saying. So next time you see us, we'll have something else. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a list. Maybe we'll have some more reviews. Maybe we'll have news, whatever. I don't know, but we'll have something for you. So on this note, Michael, you got any final words for the folks?
No. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and look forward to 2025, because that looks like that's gonna be a crazy year for content too. So we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, also, folks, I forgot to say, hey, Alien Romulus is on Hulu now.
Oh, yes!
It's on.
Yes!
It's on Hulu. Go check that out. I have to watch that this weekend. Check that out. It's gonna be awesome. Huh?
You haven't seen it yet, right?
No, I haven't seen it. I'll be watching it this weekend. I probably will watch the other. I watched up until 3, so I'll probably finish 3, then to do the other movies. I might even do like Prometheus and such, and then watch it. I don't know. I'll decide. But I'm excited to see it. So I'll be watching the rest of Arcane. I'll be watching this. My weekend will be stacked. I've got a lot of comics to read. Some amazing stuff came out. There's too much going on. I ain't got enough time. I'm gonna have to take a week off from work. That's it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna enjoy Romulus.
Yeah, it from what I've heard, it looks amazing, and I'm going to be happy to watch it. Truthfully,
yeah.
On that note, folks, you have a very good day. Enjoy it. Who has more hats, me or Cross? Let me know in the comments. I don't know who. I think his hats might be better, but I have a more diverse a color palette for my hats. I'm not sure. I don't know. We're gonna find it out. Every time I saw all of this, I was like, "Damn, that's a nice hat one." So I went on Old Navy website. I'm like, "Man, let me get these hats. Let me up my armory of hats. This is crazy." All right, folks. Y'all have a very good evening. Enjoy it. Be safe out there. New Jersey, we finally got some rain. Let's get rid of these fires. Hopefully. For real, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, y'all. Peace. Have a good night.
Peace out.